good to go here.
Get a little closer to you. There we go.
So here we go. A little pregame show here for the Houston Dynamo taking on Minnesota United, Shell Energy Stadium, Houston, Texas. Don't bang that headset around.
No, make sure I can hear you.
I want to be nice and clear. So the good news is here we were in a severe weather delay, and now we got teams coming out to warm up. So that's the good news. The other good news is if you check the weather, in the cone of a hurricane right now. So for everybody who's out there, still remarkable to me that anybody wanted to try to play a soccer game, the LAFC game. But for everybody out there that's still trying to pick themselves up after this hurricane, our hearts are with you. And I know there's still a lot of people without power. So we do this pregame show and the call of the game tonight, and the postgame in the context of everybody having some real problems here in Houston. Dynamo coming in at 8-7-6, 30 points, 8th in the West. Minnesota 8-9-5, 29 points.
I can't hear them at all.
10th. Yeah, we're having a few technical difficulties here. I can't even hear myself, David, to be honest with you. So tonight's important, I think. We're getting into the stretch run as we're heading towards the Leagues Cup. We need the points here at home. Banging.
No, I'm trying to get the sound.
No, we're getting there. But it's loud. So anyway, Leagues Cup is coming up. So Dynamo go to San Jose. There we go. And then we go to Vancouver. So 2 games on the road after this. Finally got our sound here. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. We appreciate it. Jose, Katako, and Robin. All right, so 2 games on the road after this means tonight's game is even more important. Dynamo have had a bit of a bogey time. This is kind of their bogey team in Major League Soccer over the years. They did win 2-1 back in April at Minnesota at Allianz Field. That's for sure. We saw that game, but that was a game Minnesota was the better team. They are missing a ton of guys tonight here. We can get into that, but I think the first thing to do is just kind of get you lineups here to show you what's going on here tonight. So let's start with the Houston Dynamo. Steve Clark is in goal. Daniel Steris will come in for the suspended Franco Escobar. Sviatchenko, Mikhail, the 2 center backs. Of course, Griffin Dorsey will be the right back. Pretty indispensable in that position right now for the Dynamo. Artur in the 6th, the holding midfield. Hector Herrera. Coco Carrasquilla makes his way back after Panama. Now, remember, he played the full 90 minutes against Uruguay and then got sent off for the U.S. against in that game with that tackle on Christian Pulisic. So we'll see how sharp Coco is. He should be. And then it's Aliou on the left, Sebastian Ferreira up front, Amin Bassi as well in midfield. So sacrificed Kefalczyk, sacrificed also Latif Blessing. So there'll be options on the bench. But, you know, it's beginning to look pretty good for the Dynamo. If this signing with Lawrence Anali comes through, and he's quality, and, of course, Ezekiel Ponce is in training right now, the Dynamo are going to have real depth, and they're going to have the opportunity with a singular player and maybe changing the way the team looks and plays a little bit. And certainly he's being brought here to score goals. We know that. So there you go. What's the deal with Valverde? Yeah, injured. Valverde's injured. So there, it is a little lean at the 6 for our turn. It's lean with Griffin Dorsey when it comes to support. Agree with you there, Antonio. So the starters for Minnesota, Alex Smir in goal. It's usually Dane St. Clair. He's playing right now tonight with Canada, so he's not available. Paddleford will be the left back. The 2 center backs will be Tapias and Boxall. Boxall goes off to the Olympics for a 3rd time with New Zealand. Harvey is the 4th defender. Rosales is a guy to keep an eye on. Against LA Galaxy, they lost 2-1. It's a guy that's not afraid to shoot from longer range. Josep Rosales. Alejandro Bron from the Costa Rica team in the Copa America is back. He will play. Hassani Dotson, those 2 will be in the middle of midfield. Robin Lod is a key guy in attack. Let me just look at my notes here, but he's got a number of goals. Robin Lod has, I believe, 5 goals and 11 assists. So
Yes.
he's going to be a big piece, and he'll be a piece in transition here tonight because for the most part, I think what you're going to see is you're going to see Minnesota come out and press a little at the beginning of the game, just at the beginning, maybe try to catch the Dynamo cold. Then they will settle back into a lower block defensively and a mid block at times. So this turns into a game, the Dynamo, I think, having to break down Minnesota United looking to hit the Dynamo in transition, which means the Dynamo have to be acutely aware when the ball's lost. Defenders have to take up good positions. Artur's going to have to be very balanced, like he always is, to put out fires in transition, because the onus will be on the Dynamo, I think, to score goals. So that's what we got. Dynamo winning 3-0. Okay, that's good. I think the other thing on Valverde is I've heard he's a bit of a project. So if he's getting minutes on Dynamo 2 lately, that's a good thing. On the bench, just remember here for Minnesota, so Timu Pukki, who was, I think, scored 88 goals in his career at Norwich. Yeah, he's coming off the bench. He's back. He scored against the Galaxy. He got their lone goal. But they are pretty thin. They're missing a number of guys. They are also missing DJ Taylor, who's been a starter. Will Trapp is out. Their goalkeeper, Clint Irwin, is out. Dane St. Clair, I told you again, is away with the national team of Canada playing right now. So they're missing a number of players here tonight. So they're going to try to piece it together here. Their coach is Eric Ramsey, was at Manchester United. He's only 32 years of age. You're going to see a lot tonight. I think at times 5 across the back for them. They're being criticized a little bit, obviously, because they're on a club record 6 straight losses. 6 straight losses. Now, conversely, another piece of data for you to check out here. Another piece of data. In the last 14 games, the Dynamo have only won 4 times. So it's 4 wins, it's 4 draws. 4 wins, 4 losses, and 5 draws. So you've only won 4 times in 14 games. Does it really matter? No, you're in a playoff spot. You're working on getting your main striker in. I spoke to Ben Olsen about him, says the guy's sharp. He's a worker. Ezequiel Ponce runs well, good in and around the box, and very, very businesslike and professional. That's some of the words he's used to describe him. He's fitting in with the quote-unquote game model, according to Ben Olsen, and they're giving him reps in the first team. So he's brought here to be a first-team player. Tonight, Sebas Ferreira has a great opportunity up until that guy is signed. He could play Ponce on July 20th. Me personally, I don't know about you guys out there. I'd love your take on this. I would not play him on artificial surface in Vancouver.
Not at all.
I would wait it out. What's the point? The consequence of not playing him on July 20th, not a big deal. I'd wait to start him at home, get some bang out of that excitement. And he's got to bring some excitement to this team, I think. So Antonio said, yeah, Valverde. Yeah, so Valverde's a project. But that's kind of been known for a couple of weeks now. All right, what do you got?
Again, I'll do our plug. Make sure you guys share, like, follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram/X. We do have a Twitch channel where we're also live at. So all our pre and post game shows will be streamed on all those platforms, minus Instagram. It's also on TikTok as well. I forgot about TikTok.
Yeah, you guys been really making the show both pre and post game. So
but
thanks for that.
Do me a favor right now. Share this to your profile. It helps us out a lot. It gets us out there more. And then, Glenn, when is Soccer Matters this week?
Yeah, likes, hits, all that stuff. I know we kind of mentioned that over and over. Sorry about the shameless promotion. But, you know, all the Twitter stuff, the Instagram, at Glenn Davis Soccer Matters GD, which is the radio show. This week will go Monday, Thursday, and Friday coming up. So we're going to do a big review of the Copa America tomorrow. We'll do a big review of the Euros. And then, of course, the Dynamo as well. So next week we'll have 3 shows. I've worked hard with the station to get these shows in the 6 o'clock hour, so I'm really trying to stay there. We could have doubled up and went maybe 6 to 8, but trying to keep it in that time slot where people are driving home. It's a better time slot.
I guess I do have a question in regards to the Dynamo. How can the Dynamo have done well at shutting down some of the stars of other teams coming into the show energy this season. So how can the Dynamo look to shut down and prevent Robin Wood from making an impact tonight?
Well, that's good. Let's look at it in the context of the Dynamo have been giving up a lot of goals lately.
Yes.
A lot of goals. In fact, now they've conceded, I think, 26, right? So why have they started conceding goals? Now, they're also scoring a few more goals, right? The last game they played was a 3-2 loss at RSL. We didn't get the LAFC game in. Still wondering who decided to try to play a soccer game when a hurricane is headed straight for your city. But okay, you know, shame on me for calling anybody out. Why would I do that? I mean, it just did not make sense to everybody that was in the stadium talking about it. But anyway, that's water over the dam. The good news is you'll get LAFC back here another time, and maybe we'll get a bigger crowd for that game. But I think the Dynamo possession game has frayed. That is their number one way of defending. So the possession game hasn't been as good as of late in these last, I think, 4 or 5 games where they're giving up more goals. That in turn makes it more of a transition game, and it means you're having to recover your team shape and your compactness. And the Dynamo, for the most part, like to be a methodical build. Yes, there's times in transition they can go through Dorsey. If he gets higher up the field, they can go with Aliou. But they are a methodical build type team. That's what you have to do because that's the way you have to play with Hector Herrera. I don't think there's any question. So better possession, acute awareness of killing off transitional moments here tonight. The counterattack, that's another way of saying it. Means good starting positions for defenders, but you have to be good with the ball. That's a big part of it. Antonio says, seems like our leaky defense has not been from shielding our center backs well. Yeah, well, that's because your midfield's not playing as well. And that's kind of what we're saying. The midfield has not protected the center backs. That's a very good point. Lots of goals arriving from later. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that, Antonio. When there are problems overall with a team, a lot of times you got to go to the midfield because they are the engine room of your team. They're the link to your attack. They're the protection for your back four. But to me, the overall combination of the quality of what the midfield has been doing as of late and the possession and things like that, it's all been pretty obvious, to be fair. So, yes, you can say we fought back, but the Dynamo are giving up goals for a reason. That doesn't happen by accident, and I think it's because the midfield's gotten a little bit loose. Back four hasn't been protected. Possession and quality on the ball as of late has dropped a little bit, and it's pretty simple, I think. All right, teams are still warming up out here. On the clock, it says we're 13 and a half minutes away from the start of the game. I guess it's,
hopefully.
What are they calling it, 7-1-3 night here?
Yes, it is
tonight?
7-1-3 night.
7-1-3.
July 13th.
Not sure about you guys, but the purple jersey's being pushed a lot right now. I don't know if you like the purple or the orange better, but that seems to be a big piece of it right now. Dynamo bench tonight, just for you guys. Brad Smith, Ethan Bartlow, Andrew Tarbell. So Mackenzie Gaines is back. You remember him when he got signed. A lot of pace, ability to stretch the line. Probably a guy who comes off the bench. You got Latif Blessing, Gabe Siegel in 2 goals, Tate Schmidt, Sebastian Kowalczyk, who's got 3, and Brooklyn Raines. And then if you add in the new signings, your depth is going to look good, and this is going to provide you opportunity to do other things. And it might even allow you to tweak the team a little bit tactically as well, which you know, might be something that leads to something even better. At the end of the pregame show, I'd like to hear y'all's picks for the Euro Cup and Copa America. Okay, we can do that. We can. Anybody got any shouts out there about Copa America and Euro? We can talk about it for a few minutes. I don't mind that. There's the other thing. Yeah, so Minnesota United, for a piece of data, has given up 16 goals in these last 6 losses. So they're giving up a lot of goals.
23 in their
That's
last
over, 10. Yeah, it's over 2 goals a game, well over 2 goals a game. So, you know, if there was ever a night to score a couple of goals, it may be tonight. But again, transition's important. I watched the game when they played the LA Galaxy, and they were dangerous in a lot of moments in that game, even without a lot of guys and people missing. And Pukki can come off the bench and score goals. He's a finisher. You remember him in the Premier League with Norwich, the Canaries. So there you go.
Stats. Let's see. Overall for Norwich, he
88.
87.
87 or 88 goals. Yeah. He scored a lot of goals.
That's a lot of goals.
It's actually at one point was the beginning of the year was leading the Premier League in goals scored, I think, at one point. So there you go. All right, if we get Lawrence, his speed should help. Well, speed is great as long as you do something with the speed. But I think speed was a part of, the Dynamo do need another speed merchant or two. Now, if he's a winger, how do you think Ben Olsen's going to play with him? I mean, what do? You've got this kind of inverted Coco on the right who's trying to pose problems for an opponent because you're trying to create space for Dorsey flying forward. I don't know if the Dynamo would go to an out-and-out set where they have an out-and-out winger over there, and who are you going to sacrifice for Lawrence Anelli? Rain is coming down here too, by the way, so the conditions will be slick. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think he's being brought here as a starter. I think he's a squad player. I think he's to bring you options, and we'll see. But let's hope he's a guy that doesn't want to be on the bench because that creates competition. And I mean, you got to have people unhappy on a team. I'm a little tired of the kumbaya, not from the Dynamo, but with the U.S. national team. And we have to understand. I understand sensitivity and all these things are important, and it's important to understand players. But competition is competition, and any professional team, if you're not playing, you should not be happy, and you should be parlaying that into getting into the first team. And like I once told you, I think on this, Jurgen Klopp said, hey, there's 11 guys who love me on game day. There's the bench that they like me, maybe, and then there's a bunch of guys that hate me that are not on either, right? So I think more competition could really be something good for the Houston Dynamo. Keys to defeat Minnesota today. Well, I already mentioned them, Jose. Better possession. Better possession. You're going to have to break down a deeper defending team, I think, at times. Repress is going to be very important, right? So once Minnesota wins the ball, that repress is going to be important. You're going to have good combination play, get the ball off your feet very quickly if they're very compact. And the other thing is when the ball's lost, you have to be acutely aware here today of transition and the counterattack. But I think if off the opening whistle, I think I'm pretty clear that you'll see Minnesota try to press a little in the first few minutes of the game just to catch the Dynamo, and then it'll settle in. Steve Clark masterclass. That's right. He saved them on the road. Steve deserves a lot of credit. He's done that a number of times this year. Steve Clark has, without a doubt, put the Dynamo in position to win games or draw games. End of the pregame. Okay, Lawrence, his speed should help with how team. Okay, so I missed the Steve Clark thing. But he's been good. He's got 4 shutouts. He had 12 last year. He's come up with the timely save. I think the teams are leaving the field here. Let's hope this is because we're getting ready.
I believe so.
I think we're going
Got about 9
in a
more
good
minutes.
place. All right. You want to talk a little Copa America?
Yeah,
I'll start with Copa America. I'm picking Colombia over Argentina. They're unbeaten in 28. I just think they're the team of destiny. As much as I don't mind whoever wins, Jaimes off the dead ball now is incredibly dangerous. So I'm going with the upset. I'm going to go with Colombia over Argentina. But, I mean, it's a bit of a toss-up here. I would like to see somebody different kind of win it. Where are you at?
So it's funny, in our bracket.
And by the way, you guys can tell us where you're at.
In our bracket challenge, I did pick Argentina, but after watching Colombia the last 2 matches and seeing how Argentina does, I don't want to say they're flat, but they're not the Argentina team I expected to come into the Copa.
Well, let's just say this. Let's say this. There's been a lot of teams that you can say the way they've gone through the tournament hasn't been that impressive. I don't think Argentina's been impressive. I don't think England's been impressive, yet they're in finals. On the side of the Euros, I think Spain has been totally impressive. Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, they're playing some aesthetically beautiful football. And I think Colombia has at times, up until the last game, that turned into a bit of a war after the sending off. So I think there's a lot of teams that you wouldn't say have played that great of soccer in a tournament. That doesn't mean they can't win it. It's about survival. They have the individuals to win it. Argentina may find their game at the right time, just like England did, and this may be their best game of the tournament, and it'll come in the final. Streak versus dynasty, I like that. That's pretty good. But the last thing I would just say on Argentina is, there's a lot of people, and I think they've had an easier time getting to the final, so they may have a little bit more in the tank against Colombia in that final.
But I am gonna say that I'm gonna probably pick Colombia in that match. I think they've looked really strong.
See, I convinced him.
No,
I convinced him.
And then I'm also gonna pick Canada. I know it's only a third place game, but after the Jesse Marsh statement and the status of U.S. soccer right now, I would love nothing more than Canada to win the third place game.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Euros, yeah, it's Spain, and I kind of want to see England fall flat on their face in the final.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with the three lions. Everybody's, you're going to get two good finals tomorrow. Let's hope they're great soccer games. If it was Argentina and Uruguay, it would have been a bloodbath. It still could be a bloodbath, but I think there's too many footballers out there between these two teams tomorrow to say between Argentina and Colombia that we're not going to get to see some really, really good soccer. Luis Diaz has been pretty remarkable in the things that he does. So there we go. So our picks are Colombia, and obviously Spain. Spain 3-1. I like that. Agent winners. Colombia 1-1 on penalties. Okay, these are good calls. Prediction game. Anybody else got anything before we go here? Teams have headed to the locker room. Let me take a look out here. Yeah, they've all headed to the locker room. Does not look like there's going to be too big of a crowd here today. Yet these are three very, very big points. And by the way, Minnesota at 8, 9, and 5. Remarkably, on 29 points is only a point behind the Dynamo. But remember, the Dynamo have a couple of games in hand on people in the Western Conference. And they have taken 13 road points, Minnesota. So nobody to forget about. Is it dry? No, there's some rain that's been coming down. Our Genesis says, I like seeing Sebas in the 11. Sinski, well, there was lightning before. That's why there was a bit of a delay. But I think it's on track here.
Yeah. I do want to say again, guys, I'll do the shameless plugging. Be sure to like, follow, share, subscribe on YouTube, Twitter /X, Facebook, TikTok. I know Guillermo does a lot of stuff. He uploads to TikTok for the Soccer Matters show, as well as everywhere else. YouTube, Glenn and them will post clips. Sometimes that also didn't make the show. That is on the show. Really good interviews. All that helps us out here as well.
Yeah, give us feedback too. I mean, not only here, but give me feedback on all my personal accounts and everything. I mean, that's what makes the world go round. You guys have really helped make this pregame worthwhile, and the postgame. Justin has been excellent next to me here and helping get this set up and communicating with everybody and getting it out there. And then Guillermo, my producer on the show, has been excellent as well. So I thank both of those guys. But most importantly, the energy I get to do all this really comes from all of you. So we'll see you post-game. Let's see what happens here tonight. If you want to join my call, you can get the local call on Apple TV. I do it solo. I wish I was doing it with a partner, but it's solo. So that's what we go. And we finish with JL throwing us a loop here and a curveball saying, Debbie Downer, haven't a few teams broken their losing streak against us this year? I will not answer that question because I don't want to hex anything here tonight, JL. So, guys, we'll see you after the game. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'll get up and rolling after the game right away. I want your feedback. Anything's open game on that post-game show. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.